$42 billion bank run in one day, the second biggest bank collapse in U.S. history.
You know, like all this talk about Silicon Valley Bank really brings back a core subject that we're so passionate about, that we talk about all the time, is that banks...
Is your money safe at the bank?
Yeah, because you think about it, the banks, they take your deposits, your money, your hard-earned money, and they get to make money off of it for free.
They get to make decision on what they want to invest or do with your money.
In fact, the money that you deposit, you actually have to pay them for the privilege of having the money in the account, while they get to go and take that money and make money. And the problem is, like, if they make bad decisions on the loans and then it gets to the point where it fails, like what happened in this scenario where FDIC has to seize the bank, guess who loses? You lose, right? Because if you have more than 250,000 with, unfortunately, there's $150 billion of uninsured deposit in SVB right now. What happens to those people's money? What happens to those businesses that are relying on it, right?
I mean, you see, most people are optimistic about, you know, the bank, right? So they put their hard-earned money, like you just said, and they think that, hey, the bank is the safest place, but it's actually opposite than what we think, right? Because your cash somewhat deemed safe because the federal government insure under the FDIC $250,000, right? But that's the problem, right? It's not safe.
Anything beyond that is not guaranteed. That's the problem. And so as of the end of 2022, it's actually said that the FDIC itself only has around like $128 billion in reserves fund. That's about 1.27% of actually all the insured deposit, which is around like $11 trillion. So you think about it, like in 2008, there was about 500 banks that failed. And this one, SVB, is the second largest bank failure in U.S. history, after WAMU, Washington Mutual Bank, in 2008.
I mean, keep in mind that the banks only keep a percentage of deposit on hand at any time, right? And they lend out the rest in form of like credit, a process known as fractional reserve banking. If everyone demands their full deposit at the same time, then the bank won't be able to cover it.
No, absolutely not. That's the problem that we have now. And like, banks are now paying like 3.5%, depending on the institution. Yet at the same time, they get to go out there and charge interest on your money, your hard-earned money, 6-7%.
Yeah. So what they're saying, like, hey, if you want, like, hey, put the money at our bank and you get 3 to 3.5%. That's what we're gonna pay you. But on the flip side, if you want to borrow from us your money, I'm gonna charge you 6%, which is what they're gonna be charging you, right? So what they're saying essentially is like, hey, just give me the money basically for free and I'll charge you. By the way, that's not a 3% return, right? So
for the bank.
Yeah, it's not, right? Well, for the people, right? So if you're buying like a strawberry cupcake for $3 and sell them for $6, what's the rate of your return? Hundreds of percent.
Yeah, a few
right?
hundred. Yep.
That's crazy. What would be the alternative place to place your money if it's not safe to keep your money in the bank?
Yeah, for us, we always love hard assets, because if someone's going to invest your money, it might as well be you. And if someone's going to profit for your money, it might as well be you.
That's true. I mean, you know, we love hard asset, right? Because you can actually drive up to the property, scout the property, talk even to the property manager, even the tenants. How do you like living here?
Right. So you always like survey. You can make decisions for yourself on what you want to invest in and not allow other people to make those decisions for you on your behalf. Because ultimately, if something like a bank run happens or a bank failure happens, the bankers are the ones who are going to be unscathed. They got their salaries already. They, in fact, for SVB, ironically or not, they actually got their yearly bonus sent to them on March 10th, which is exactly the same day that they were seized. So they got bonuses from last year's performance. But this year, on the same day, ironically, their bank was seized by the FDIC. So the people who are now waiting in line to go get withdrawals, they're gonna have issues, but it's their money. So
it's the people's money. It's not the banks or the people.
Yeah, so ultimately,
the people who make
you need to
money.
control where your money goes. You need to be smart about where you're placing it and be careful and make sure that what you invest in is something that's gonna profit you and not profit someone else.
For those who's wondering what FDIC covers, they cover savings account, checking account, money market deposit accounts, cashier's check, money order, and other official items issued by the bank, negotiable order of withdrawal, accounts, time deposits such as certificates of deposits. The problem is there are things that the FDIC doesn't cover as well, which are mutual funds, life insurance policies, stock investments, bond investments, safe deposit boxes and their contents, annuities, mutual fund securities. In conclusion, the recent banking collapse has shed light on the glaring issue with the banking system. People are relying on banks to keep their hard-earned money safe and accessible at all times. However, the collapse has shown that this may not always be the case. It has exposed a flaw in the system that had left many feeling vulnerable and uncertain about the safety of their money. It's clear that there's a pressing need for reform to ensure that people can trust the banking system to protect their finances. Until then, individuals must weigh the risk of keeping their money in the bank and consider alternative options for safeguarding their wealth.